podcast. I'm Daniel Farrand, owner of the company Horns Odin, and I'm joined, as always, by Dr. Matthias Nordvig.
Hello, hello. This time we're joined by Joonas Lorentzen, the giant brain behind Nibala. He's here to talk to us about his new EP and music video, Lathu. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, guys. It seems to be sort of like a recurring event, maybe a bit too often these days. But
never too often.
I always look forward to it, man.
No, me too. Me too. And today we're going to be talking about something completely different than what we've been doing recently. So yeah, I'm psyched. I'm excited to be here today.
I know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time it feels like you're probably on more than you are because we do the story times together.
Yeah.
So it probably feels more frequent. And for anybody that hasn't listened to the story times, this is my chance to plug the Patreon. So just pop over to Patreon.com/Nordic Mythology Podcast. Follow us on Patreon. You get a bonus episode every week. And one of them is where Joonas, me, and Matthias sit down and read saga literature. Well, Joonas reads it, does all these voices. I don't know if you want to give us a sample of one of those voices now.
Well, I can't remember any of one of the ones that I did. I really like
Cockney Sigurður.
Cockney Sigurður. Did I do a Cockney Sigurður?
You did all the voices.
I can't. I remember one time when I had to do a lot of different ones because there was like these birds sitting in a tree talking, and they all had different voices, and they kept coming more and more of them. So I had to like keep inventing new voices. Like, what he's doing? Yeah, he's doing something really. It was like that kind of thing, you know. So,
there you go. If you want more of that, pop over to the Patreon. Like I say, you get a bonus episode. You can start. And when we hit 200 patrons, the coconut bikini's coming. We spoke about it last week. We're on like 187, 188, something like that. So a few more.
And then we're gonna see you in a coconut bikini, man.
And I'm gonna have to get you one as well, though.
Oh yes, and of course. I mean, we're gonna yeah.
In it together.
Yeah, we're in it together. I'll be wearing a coconut bikini too.
That makes.
Is there something I missed here? What this is about? You get 200 patrons, you have to be in a coconut bikini.
So there was one week where I was walking around the supermarket and I saw a coconut, and I was like, I was gonna buy. It's like a coconut that you could just drink the milk out of or the water out of, and just. So I brought a coconut and sat with it, and then somehow talked myself into saying that when we hit 200 patrons, I will make a bikini out of the coconut. And I just forgot about it and didn't think any more of it until I kept getting reminded on it more and more the closer we got to 200. And now I'm terrified, so I'm making it a big deal.
Oh, you're gonna look smashing, brother. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So anyway, Joonas, you have the color of a lobster, and that's because you've been out in the sun all day. What have you been doing?
Well, it's because it's 17th of May over here in Norway, where I live, and that's the actually, funnily enough, since I'm a Dane, it's the day where they liberated themselves from the Danes and got their own country, which is kind of funny.
That's a funny way to put it.
Well,
they were taken over by Sweden, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. So it was actually more the Swedes, but it's kind of like the Liberation Day from Swedes and Danes, I suppose.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So but the thing is, it's not about that really. It's not about the Swedes and the Danes, we got rid of them. It's not about that at all. It's actually some of the most cozy nationalism that I have ever been a witness to be honest, because it really is just, everyone just getting together, being happy about Norway. Norway is a great place to live, and they sing songs. Also, and
I mean, when we talk about it in sort of legal terms, what happens is that Norway got its constitution, right? So
yeah.
So that's why it's not about like, evil Swedes or evil Danes or anything like that. It's
not at all.
You can sort of like focus on just being Norwegian, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, and it's actually kind of an argument for why it's a good thing for a country to have strong cultural traditions and so on, because they have these strong cultural traditions about wearing these things that they call the bunad, which is basically the traditional attire, basically. I don't know how old this particular style is. I would imagine that some parts of it could be quite old, but it's like whenever you think of it's actually, the funny thing is about it that it looks very much like how mountain people dress all over the world. Actually, a lot of the styles and so on are similar to what you find in Kashmir, what you find in Sardinia, what you find in lots of different places actually. And they all wear it, and you see everyone wearing it, right? It's not just the quote unquote white Norwegians. It's like everyone, and it's really great. And I went to the school where my daughter goes to school, and they were playing all these games. It was a lot about like playing games and eating sausages and all that sort of thing. And there, of course, all the games have potato themes for some reason.
That's because, as I told a friend of mine who lives in Norway too, that she's originally not from Norway. We know her, some of us at least, Tal. As I told her that the potato is literally the epitome of cuisine in Northern Europe. Like, Danes, we know this ourselves, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So it's like the potato. So it's the potato run. It's the one where you put the potato in the spoon and you have to run back, and then you have to run. If you have to run somewhere and you have to run back without dropping the potato.
The Irish don't have nothing on us Scandinavians when it comes to potatoes, man. Like, I don't know why they're so known for potatoes.
That's because we have an egg and spoon race where you put the egg on the spoon and you have to run and not drop the egg.
That's
the
so
potato
wasteful,
sounds insane to me.
The potato will survive, The potato.
I think they hard boil the egg though.
Oh, so you'll eat it after it's been on the ground, or what? Anyway, it doesn't matter. The next game is potato sack race, right? You put a potato sack. You basically put your whole body into a potato sack, and then you
do that
have
as well,
to race. Yeah. That's a classic one. I don't know if there was more stuff with potatoes. It probably was. But so that was that. Potato eating. Who can eat the most potatoes? That sort of thing. Yeah. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was very cozy.
Is potato also a slur for white Norwegian, as it is like a slur for white Danes in Denmark?
No, actually, in Norway, potato again is it's actually a term of endearment. If you're a potato, if you say, "Oh, what do you do at your job?" If you say, "I'm a potato," it means you're someone who does a lot of different things.
Oh, that's so weird.
It's because it's due to the fact that the potato kind of goes with everything.
What?
There's nothing you almost can't do with a potato, right? You can serve it with almost anything, right? It's because it's kind of a bland, starchy vegetable that you can just, you can do whatever you want with. So yeah, it's yeah.
But
So
you're familiar,
huh?
So you're familiar with the Danish use of the word potato, right? Like you're some doughy white dude.
Yeah.
I feel like that's closer to what we have. For like a potato over here is like someone that's a little bit dense and a bit.
Yeah.
That's how
head.
we would call. Yeah, we would call someone a potato. It's definitely certainly not a good thing.
No, in Norway it is.
There we go.
And it's a specific good thing. It's the one that can do a lot of different things.
I like
that. Yeah. What do you do? I'm just a potato, I just I do this little bit of that, little bit of that, little bit of this.
Wow,
that sort of thing.
That's good. Yeah. From what I've seen, it looks like an amazing day. It looks like the kids have a big festival and walk through the streets. Everyone gets together, has fun. Alyssa in the chat said everybody gets to eat as much ice cream as they can stomach. Yeah. It really does seem like it's national pride done well and in a completely non-offensive way. And because today it's so that balance of like having national pride, it's automatically, I think, gets people's heckles up and they think of it as a negative thing. It's lovely to see it done so
well. It was
positively.
discussed actually. The funny thing is that for instance, in the neighboring country of Sweden, to throw the flag up of Sweden everywhere and for everyone to wear some kind of Swedish attire or whatever like that, and celebrate Sweden as a country it's absolutely unheard of. Like, it would be frowned upon. And you would be called some kind of crazy right-wing nationalist if you did that sort of thing. But over here, it seems it's really just a celebration of the country. It really doesn't go beyond on that. And of course, there was the discussion really quickly on one of the main news outlets in Norway. It was like, well, do we have to use the flag so much and all that kind of stuff? But most Norwegians that I saw when that thing was brought up was just like, shut the fuck up, like that kind of thing. Just like, let's get on with it,
It's interesting how, like, how there are people that can have so strong sentiments against using a flag of the country that you live in. Like,
it's insane because even like the English flag to me, because obviously not the Union flag that everyone knows, like the Union Jack. Like, I don't think so much with that, but like the English flag, the red cross on the white background. Even for me as an Englishman, like when I see that, I still kind of have this, what are you into kind of thought, and it's sad because I shouldn't think like that. I should be able to be proud, but I feel like if I was like if I had some like national pride about England, then it would not.
Well, again, this kind of ties into the whole thing that you guys have been talking a lot about on the podcast, right? The whole sort of idea of misappropriation of symbols and that sort of thing. I mean, if you like in Denmark, unfortunately, it's also become a bit like that. The Danish flag is almost associated with Danish People's Party, which is the most right-wing. One of the most right-wing, not anymore. We've
generated new crazy fuck.
I know. Let's not get into that at all. No. I'm not here to talk about politics, but I mean, but it has been sort of hijacked by Danish People's Party. So in such a way that that flag is sort of associated with people who harbor those kind of beliefs and ideas, and you can say, well, then it's forfeit and let it be forfeit, and that's one way of looking at it. But you can also just go, hey, well, let's put some happiness back into to those kind of things. Let's put some, I wouldn't say pride, but just some joy into it. And I feel the Norwegian tradition of 17th of May is a joyful occasion that everyone is invited to take part in. And it's just, you wish each other, hey, gratulerer med dagen, which means, we wish you a happy day, or we are, how would be the right English translation? Congratulations on the day of, of Norway.
Before we move on, I think it's probably worth knowing, like Alyssa again said in the chat, that maybe it comes down to colonialism and being the oppressor, because obviously us, England, and very much the same as like Denmark, we've been little shits. Like, so
have
you
you
kind of have we?
So Sweden.
I mean, again, there's a giant discussion to bring up.
I know, but again, like,
yeah, you have and you haven't, and you have and you haven't, and
I mean, the British Empire has definitely been kind of bad. The Denmark have had their own empire. Sweden again. And these are the three countries that we've kind of said in this discussion have gone, all three of them maybe like questionable when it comes to national pride. And I don't know everything about Norwegian history, but from what we spoke about on the podcast, it seems like they've quite often been the oppressed.
Well, they kind of stopped being little shits after like the 1300s. They did have like a go at it in the 1500s, and then they were completely squashed by the Danish king. Yeah, they like in the 1200s.
Before we move on,
they didn't really have the flag back then, though. So
no, they didn't. And I think before we move on from this, which I really think we should, but I think you guys, out of all of everyone, should be careful with saying they were little shits. The British Empire was really bad. Listen. History is much more complicated than that. Sure, there was horrible things done, especially like in India and so on, by the British Empire. But I mean, history is filled with horror. History is filled with empires going up and down and up and down and up and down, and it doesn't mean that you should have self-hatred towards your country. No, I know you don't, but that's what you see a lot these days, and I think I mean, Okay, we're getting way too. This is getting
No,
way
these are
too
the-
complicated.
I get what you're saying.
These are
Jonas.
fun conversations, though.
I get what you're saying. You know, there's a lot of historical processes out there that where people have been pretty horrible to one another.
Sure.
You can drop down in any year, pretty much,
Yeah.
and then you'll find
Someone
one
who was really
empire
horrible.
trying to destroy another group of people somewhere. And that has happened all over the globe. Obviously, that what is contextualized nowadays are the colonial processes that the Western countries out there, the European countries in particular, have been part of. And what is actually essentially being challenged is the hegemony that they established over a couple of centuries, right? And then that, you know, challenging that hegemony is perfectly legitimate. What becomes a bit of a problem is then that, you know, something like a flag becomes like a symbol of that hegemony, which it isn't necessarily. It can be a symbol of a lot of different things, and it is being used for a lot of different things. I mean, Denmark is a great example. So if we look at the history of the Danish flag, I mean, that's a crusader and colonizer flag. I mean, the legend goes that we got it in Estonia when we were, you know, beating heathens, right? And conquering.
Classic.
And then we went out there and had a nice little North Atlantic empire with that flag too, right? So and you know, flew that flag over colonial stations in West Africa and our colonies in the Caribbean and our colony in India too, right? So like that's you know, in the same way as Union Jack is a flag that has been used by colonizers, ours is as well, right? But what is the context for it now though? Like nowadays, Danes, they put their little flag on the Christmas tree and in birthday cakes, and they're pretty toothless in this day and age. And then you have these like curious nationalists over in a corner that are like, oh, pride, and we don't like immigrants, and la 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 la. And it's like they just need to be shut down.
I think we live in a very interesting time, actually. If I'm going to put a positive spin on this, because I think it is. I was just having this conversation with two of my dear friends, and you know, about the times that we're living in right now, and the kind of stories we should probably be telling, actually, because we're living in a time where the time of the West, as we've known it, is over. There's no doubt about it. I mean, that is, we can say goodbye to that, conceptually at least. And that's okay, because things go up and things go down. But the important thing is then what story do we want to tell now? You know, if we're going to be telling a new story, if we're going to create something new, you know, in all the great myths about, you know, like Ragnarok, which is a great Judgment Day or end times eschatological story, you know. And many others from around the world, there's always something that stays, and it brings out it should at least bring out the worst in people, surely, you know, brother will kill brother and that sort of thing. But it also brings out the best in people. It makes Vidar build up the courage that he's been building up his whole life to step into the mouth of the beast, right? You know, it brings out these incredible qualities in people, and I think that's really, you know, what we should be talking about. And it also there's always something from that world that stays and that builds the new world. And so what from this old Western world that everyone's trying to tear down everywhere, what do we want to keep? What do we want to bring forward? And I think that's the real interesting conversation really to have, you know, and not just a conversation about whether we should be throwing a flag around or not.
Oh, exactly. I very much agree. And, you know, we were having this conversation on the phone together a couple of days ago, you know.
We were indeed.
and I very much agree with your
I
perspective.
counted you in my dear friends up in having this conversation.
Well, that's good to hear.
Hey,
But
where's my phone call?
Well, we were talking about other things, Daniel. So,
We were.
you know, you're going through your own little Ragnarok. So
that's true.
But I so much agree, and you know what, it is a time for, you know, people who belong to this curious construction called the Western world to consider what are the things that we actually want to bring into the future and bring with us as part of humanity, because things are going to change, and there are really important cultural contributions that come out of Europe, and there's also something that we really do not want to bring with us.
exactly.
Right now, what we're seeing, though, it looks like, at least, that those people who want to bring all the bad shit with us, they have been gaining momentum, and so we have to ask ourselves, well, how, like, you know, one of the most awesome things that came out of the European encounter with the indigenous populations in North America is the Enlightenment. Like, isn't that fascinating? A bunch of Europeans go to North America, they interact with the indigenous tribes in what is now called New England, and then they realize, hey, wait a minute, like personal freedom and like equitable treatment of human beings, and like everything that becomes the French Revolution and later on and earlier on the American Revolution, for that matter, is like Europeans being inspired by Native Americans. Isn't that fucking fascinating? Like,
Yeah,
that's something that we need to bring into the future.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm about. Like,
absolutely. All right, let's change gears, because obviously, Joonas, we're here to talk about you and your music, and we also need to get to sex, because there's almost more people watching this than watched the Alexander Ludwig episode, because we said we're going to talk about sex. So I think I think we don't get there, we're going to have a riot in the chat.
But this ties very beautifully into. Okay, Alana, did I tell you? Like I told you, do not make such a huge bloody noise when you're walking around on the podcast, and you're just banging the doors.
Sorry, I just saw a TikTok video. It was crazy. It's awesome.
Okay, you got to go to bed now. Okay, off you go. Jesus.
Oh, was that Dad Joonas?
That was Dad Joonas, yes, indeed. Yeah, I mean, I think we warmed up to it pretty well.